Welcome to a new episode of my Chasing the Checkered web series, and I am here with the Maine racing legend, Mike Rowe. Whenever I see him, I call him a legend because that's what he is. So, you have been racing for years and years and years, since 1968. You know how old my mom was that year?
No.
My mom was 2 years old when you
Wow.
started racing.
That makes me old.
So, talk to us a little bit about your beginnings in racing, where you started, because I understand that you started at Oxford, and talk to us a little bit about the beginning of your career, and how you got into racing in the first place.
I started back in '68. We ran 2 or 3 shows, actually, that's all, at the end of the year, with Butch Craig. And we actually in '69, we got a 6-cylinder car, and we ran that whole season. So we kind of got hooked on it.
Yeah. And like you have gone on to win 3 Oxford 250s, one of them with my trusty co-host Steve Perry over at Mainly Motorsports. So out of those 3 Oxford 250 victories, I heard you have a nice story about how like Donnie Colbert was driving for Steve Perry and something happened and you cut a tire down and you ended up winning the Oxford 250 that year. So what are some of the cool memories that you remember from those 3 wins that you have in the Oxford 250?
Yeah, that was probably the biggest one because I was just getting ready to pit, and then the yellow came out, and that saved me. And we went in, changed the tire, come out one race.
And then you are also, I'm just talking about your legendary status. So, Maine Racing Hall of Fame member. And then you are also New England Racing Hall of Fame member. So, how does it feel to like still be racing? You're still out there, you're still like kicking everyone's asses. There are all these young kids that race against you that are like in their 20s. And how does it feel to, still be racing, still be in the car every weekend, and already be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, my health is still good. I love to race, be competitive, and Mikey Fowler and Travis Caruso give me a good car, so I'm gonna keep racing. As long as I can have a car that can win, I'll keep racing. When I feel like I can't win anymore, I'm gonna get done.
And this guy is one of the guys that like, he might be like the biggest like veteran out there in the field, but you're not afraid to, kind of get your hands dirty and, you don't take any crap on the racetrack.
Well, I don't know if you say taking crap. I don't like to push people around. I mean, but if they start shoving me, they're definitely gonna get shoved back.
This guy's relentless.
Hmm.
And like another cool thing that me and Dan were talking about before this is that you have 3 generations of racing that are currently all racing right now. So you, Ben Rowe, and then your grandson as well. So how does it feel to have like 3 people that are active in racing, and that you've passed that on from generation to generation now as well?
Well, I've raced all my life, and my family, Benji and Tommy, because they raced, and now the grandsons are racing with Max and Gunnar. It's just like someone that plays baseball. If their kids play baseball, they play, or the family does the same thing. So, but it's great to have them follow my footsteps.
It's good. It's good to like, kind of see you like active like with them in their racing careers as well. And everyone talks about like everyone's like when's Mike Rowe gonna hang the helmet up? But like you said, it's just like when you're just like you know, can't run the front of the pack anymore. Is that when you're gonna hang it up or?
I've thought about it a few times, and like I say, I still love the sport. And as long as I can keep winning, I'm going to keep going.
And I'm sure you have many, many racing stories, but Dan and Steve were talking to me about one race that will stick out in their minds. Is that one that involved a Make-A-Wish kid. So do you mind telling everyone about that story and kind of what that race still means to you today?
That was up in Halifax. Uh, the little boy, he was a grand marshal of the race. He'd been in and out of the hospital 10 times. Or better, and he just loved Cat equipment, and Cat was a sponsor of the race, and we just happened to win the race, and I gave him the trophy, and it was just like giving him $1 million. We gave him a ride in a car, and that was just heartwarming.
And there's races like that, that you'll forever remember, for years to come. It'll always be like a piece of your heart. But are there any races that you remember that you're like so incredibly frustrating? You're like, maybe we should forget about that one.
Well, of course, we lost a good friend with Jason Fowler when we was on the team in 2009. And Dickie Fowler asked me to come back and in honor of him, and we actually won the championship for him, and that was really great to do, and probably the most awesome race that we did.
Another story that Steve Ferry told me before this is that you have an interesting story about Wiscasset. When one time where you raced at Wiscasset and you had a friend there in the car with you with a couple laps to go, and you want to tell
Yeah,
us about that story?
we drove for Dave Kimball. He had a brain aneurysm and died, and um, I went back driving for Mike Lux the next year, and his son called up and wanted to know if we could put his number on the race car, which we did. He came down that morning, and we put the 12X over the 24. And the race, we time trial. Sammy Sessions, I think, was on the pole. I was like 14th or 15th. Can't time trial, still can't. But anyway, I was on a mission, and we got to the front, caught Sammy. He was good. Couldn't get by him. And I should have backed up a little bit. His boy came to me and wanted to know if I could let his father ride with me in a car, and he gave me some ashes to put in there, and we did. So I kind of reached over and grabbed that. Says, hey, I need some help here. Well, about 2 laps later, we come up on Scott King coming out of 4. Sammy goes wide, and I just had a hole right to the bottom and happened to get by him and won the race. So made it an awesome day.
That's one of those kind of things too, where you're like, wow, that was just kind of like one of those crazy heartwarming moments as well for you.
Yeah, it was that was a touching moment right there.
And then, like we talked about, you've raced at Wiscasset, you've raced at Beach Ridge, of course, Oxford Plains Speedway. You've raced on both dirt and asphalt. So, like, what are like some of your favorite tracks to race at? Don't have to name one because I'm sure you've raced everywhere up and down the East Coast. And comparing dirt to asphalt, like, what's the difference for you, like, as a driver? And do you prefer one over the other? Do you miss racing on dirt?
No, not really. When I raced on dirt, it was at Beach Ridge. I think that was back in the 60s or early 70s. But then I was young, and all I just knew enough to do was put the pedal down and go for it. We ran Dave Kudamaz's car on the dirt. It was a lot of fun back then. And, that was a great thing to do down there and run the dirt and see what that was all about, which I never did because I ran Oxford on hot top.
And then I heard a story about how when you were racing one time, Windshield caved in on you, and you had some cuts on your hands as well. And I felt like that was a crazy story. And me and Dan Walker were talking. He says you come back in and you finish the race and put some gloves on.
Yeah, that's when we actually had our late model car at Oxford. So we decided to go down and run Kudamaz's car in the modified and run our late model. I think it was the Autowise 100. And we got halfway through the race, and the windshield caved in, cut my finger, so I actually stopped and caused a yellow. Went in the pits, they pulled the windshield out, and they got some of them old monkey face gloves for me. Back then, I don't think they even had gloves, driving gloves, but put some of them on. We went to the rear and went back to the front and won the race.
And this, guys, we were saying, like, has won a lot of races over the course of your career. 152 wins at Oxford alone. Probably we're talking like maybe close to 300 in your career at different tracks. So, and as Carol said yesterday, you don't like to pass up hardware either, whatever trophies you get. So where do all these trophies go? You got them in every room of your house?
She's got them in her house. So. Yeah.
Are there any of them that like kind of stand out as like, oh, this is like a really cool like award that I've gotten?
I don't know. I guess they're all special. The 250 trophies are nice, and the year I actually run for Steve Perry, I mean, we won a lot of races. We won the Atlanta Cat 250, won the Oxford 250. down at Beach Ridge, they had that 300 lapper. We won that, and that was just a great year for us.
And you've also won the Award of Excellence here at the Mainly Motorsports Expo a couple of years ago, and um, like with the same likes of people like Ricky Craven, Gardner, and June Levitt. So how does it feel to be in a class with those people that so many people in Maine racing have come to love?
That's awesome to be in a class with them people. I mean, they're all great people, and you know, and you got to thank Steve Perry for bringing up stuff like that. He's always thinking and does a good job.
And then speaking of that, oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. This is why it's unedited. but Dan Walker, he came up. I forgot what I was gonna say. So we're just gonna go on to something that Dan Walker came up with.
Who's that?
Who's Dan Walker?
Never heard of him.
I've never heard of him. Who's that fella? So we came up with this great idea that I'm gonna give you some drivers' names, and you're gonna say the first thing that comes to mind, or maybe even a story about racing against one of these drivers. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
So, what's the first thing that comes to mind, or a racing story about Benji Rowe?
He's my son, of course, and I love to see him race, and he's like me. Benji doesn't push anybody around unless they push him, and he does give it back like I do. So.
And then Mr. Kelly Moore.
Kelly, him and I, we raced a lot of good races together, and he's just a good person.
And then Dave Dion, who's another racing great.
Dave, yeah, same thing. Him and I raced a lot of races together and banged fenders, and usually one of us would come out on top.
Leland Kangas.
Leland, him and I had some good races together too. At Oxford, we'd go out on the track and they would boo him or me or whatever. So one night before the feature races, I said, Leland, let's swap cars. You get in my car and I'll get in yours and just see what the fans say. So that was kind of neat. We did that and kind of got them lost there for a while.
And then Al Hammond.
Albert, him and I had some awesome races. Back when they went to coilovers and stuff, and coil springs, he was probably one of the best, and it would be either him or I that would win at Oxford every week.
And then going into the newer generation of drivers, one of these is has been racing at Beach Ridge for years, but Dan McKay.
Dan McKay is one of the nicest persons that you can either be a friend associated with or race on the track with. He gives me room, I give him room, and we really turned into be real good friends.
And then finally, a young superstar, Reed Lanfer.
A superstar?
I'll become a superstar.
I don't know who that would be. I hope it's Max, my grandson, because he's doing a great job. He raced Wiscasset. I don't know what he's going to do this year, but he's going to be good. I mean, he's a hard-nosed racer like I am, and he's going to get somewhere.
And then what would your advice be for kids like your grandson coming up through the ranks of racing, whether that be racing go-karts, starting in younger levels, like the Whiz Kids and starter divisions? What is your advice to young kids as they try to make their way up through the racing world?
First thing I'd say is stay off the drugs and pot and all that stuff and pay attention, and you can go places.
I think it's a good thing too to I meant for me, you can be a good driver, but it's all about the whole package, being a good person, on and off the track is what will make you successful too.
Yeah, I've probably done some things that I'm not too proud of, but you definitely got to have things in the right perspective to be a good race car driver. And like I say, I don't like to push people around, but when I get pushed around, they're gonna get pushed back, and that's probably where I got my reputation.
But at the end of it, you have championships, you have wins, and then you have become a part of Maine racing history. And I know something that's important to you is someone that we have here with us this weekend too is the Maine Vintage Race Car Association. You go to the meetings there, and like, what does being a part of that as well and preserving the racing history in Maine mean to you and your family?
Well, it's just been great, and like I say, I've been in it a lot of years, and I've got a lot of success, and I just hope it keeps going. I know every year I keep saying I'm going to get done, but I still love the sport, and I'm going to keep going. And I don't consider myself a king or nothing, or like everybody says. I'm just a normal person like anybody else. But sometimes people kind of blow it out of proportion.
And then in recent years, to like end us off on like, a note of like trying to get people to, in recent years, it's been talked that, like counts of people in the stands have like, dwindled in racing. So what would you say to someone new that's like looking to like getting into races? Like, what do you think is the best way to preserve the sport and to boost it up again and to just keep the fans coming back?
Well, I mean, the sport is actually dwindling a little bit. Even you can see that in the NASCAR. But I don't know if it's the prices that's going up. But definitely the spectators have gone down everywhere, and I just don't know what they can do to bring that back. Whether it's drop the prices, uh, but look at Loudon. I mean, they had a lot of seats. They've taken them out. They are losing spectators, and of course, when they do that, the sport's going downhill.
And then, to end it off, like who you've obviously worked with so many people out the course of your career, but who are some people that you'd like to thank for getting you to where you are today and will continue to help you in the future?
Well, when I started, it was all Butch Craig. Him and I was together a long time, and then I moved on, and then got hooked up with Steve Perry and Mike Lux, and we had a lot of good success there. And then I went with Dickie Fowler down at Beach Ridge, and to this day we're really great friends. Even though he's the tech guy now, and he probably uses us a little harder than he does somebody else because he doesn't want to think there's any friendship or nothing. But during the races, Dickie doesn't like to come around and uh, you know cause any conflict or nothing. But it's hard for us to go to Beech Ridge and race where he is a tech guy. But anyway, we were just gonna keep going. Drive for Mikey and Travis this year, run a few races for Mike Lux, and hopefully we can win some more.
Definitely, and you have a great team of people behind you, a lot of people cheering you on, and we're looking forward to seeing how you do in 2019 and for years to come, because like Steve Ferry said last night, you probably be 10, 20 years left in you.
Well, I don't know about that, but I just feel like this year we can win some races with Mikey Fowler and Travis, and I feel like we can win some races with Mike Lux. So if we don't win any races, you might not see me here next year.
Oh no, gotta go out
So we
there.
got to go and win.
You gotta go win. So,
Yep.
so we'll see you next time. But this guy, he's gonna go win.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.